Hey guys, do you hear me right now? In my opinion, it will be one of the most interesting sessions today because it is very interesting to speak with person who understand in what he's doing. Because as we know, he's making his job for a long time and he completely understands what he's doing. And as for me, it will be like one of the most attractive one. But let's see. I think it will be very interesting. Hey Chris, pleasure to see you.
Sure thing.
I see here a lot of interesting people. Martinez from Mad Scientist, Panda from Former Foxes, also Coffee Beans from Shitmas, Raf from No Crypto World. That's very funny. So Chris, let's start and please introduce yourself. Who are you and why you came to the cryptocurrencies world?
So my name is Chris Mullins. I'm a graphic designer. I've been a graphic designer for about 20 years, but my education was in illustration. Um, and over the past couple decades, I kind of veered further away from illustration and more towards just communication design and graphic design. And a couple years ago, I heard about NFTs and learned about them in terms of another way to provide art to a larger community. And then I saw generative work, and I really thought that was a cool technology. So my focus in kind of the NFT world and my draw to the NFT world was more towards the art and technology side of things versus the cryptocurrency side of things. I had an idea for a project after looking at different generative projects that was primarily a PFP project. And then when I started getting into it and started mocking it up, I realized that my drawing skills had atrophied a bit. Like they weren't where they once were. So I wanted to start a project that was more of a rough draft project. And I started working on what is now Moonbase Dracula, just as a way to practice my skills and just get them up to a level that I was comfortable with. And then as I kept going, I took it from a mock up and something that I was just kind of using to learn to draw again into its own project. And that just kept going. Like it took me a total of 3 years from when I first started it to when I released it, which isn't. I don't think it's typical for projects to take that long, but for me, part of it was also just kind of getting back into drawing again, and getting comfortable and being able to put out something that I was proud of. Like I didn't want to put something out that I had done early on because it wasn't to the level that I would want a project to be at. And as I got towards the end, I realized that some of that earlier work needed to be redone. So, part of that 3 year period was getting back into drawing, learning to draw again, learning how to color again. And then when I got to a point where I was comfortable pushing out the work, I reviewed it all, looked back at the earlier stuff, and realized that a lot of that earlier stuff needed to get redone because the quality was less than how I ended. So it was a 3 year journey, something that was initially just me, drawing in my spare time, that eventually became a project.
Amazing. Let's keep going a little bit deeper in your art. Can you please explain us how you made that Moonbase Dracula collection? You made it on the I don't know, tablet, or you just draw it on the paper. Just make us introduction how that work is looking like, because 3 years it is long period of time. I
Yeah.
understand that to create a concept it is the most difficult thing, and make each NFT unique. That's why I'm asking it, and please explain it to us.
Sure. When I started, I mean, I started some of the sketches just pencil and paper, and that was fine. But the work that is all done in the project is done in Adobe Illustrator. And my initial thought with that was I thought it would help me keep file size down because it's working with vector graphics over raster graphics. That turned out to be extremely not true. Part of that was because I went in and used a lot of custom swatches, custom pens, things that aren't native to that product. So it really bumped up how big those files were going to be. And then as I was going through this, originally it was only going to be under 100 traits or 125 traits. And as I was looking at other projects that were more PFP related or PFP focused, they could get away with having lower traits because if it's just a face, you can have a lot of configurations with a very low number. And because I wasn't doing that, I felt like I needed to overcompensate. So, I went from 125 traits to 697 towards the end, and some of those are text based, so they lean more towards my comfort with graphic design. But there are something like 60 some on bodies, 70 something heads, arms, all the 3 side characters. I think there's maybe 40 or close to 40 on each. But it didn't it as I was getting through there and looking at the different images and exporting them, it felt pretty clear that I needed an overabundance to actually create something that felt like a body of work. If I were to keep, the create numbers low, like there'd be far too much repetition that I'd be comfortable with.
Amazing. So about trades, I think people understand. Is that possible for you to share right now your display and show your NFTs and maybe speak about them and showing them?
Everything now has been backed up, so nothing is immediately available on my machine. I could potentially go through the
You can
marketplace.
just
That's
yeah, sure.
helpful.
Yeah, sure. Just open marketplace and maybe tell some examples. What is your NFT? So just you've
Sure.
told that you have giant work with trades because in my opinion it is the most important and the most hardest thing about NFTs. And you can just explain what is your NFT, how it look like, and like that. I think it will be very interesting for people. But actually, each NFT is handmade, so 10,000 pieces. It's not a generation. You made all work on your site.
Yeah, so I will just for example, I'll just pull this one up. So part of this too is so I initially was only going to do full set. So I wanted like 25 full bodies. So if you were arbitrarily get a full set. So there's a couple things. So this also category has this text down here, but it also covers a lot of the wear and tear on the comic books. My introduction, I've been a big comic book guy my whole life, and my introduction to comics was primarily in horror comics. And part of that was because they were just cheaper. You could get something from Marvel and DC, and you'd have to collect tons of comics to actually understand the story. But with these, they were in like the 25 cent, cheap bins, and you could read them and understand everything. And they were always in very, very poor condition. So part of that too is to identify that and show that condition and show that wear and tear, just more or less as a reflection to how I experienced the media at first. So beyond that, there is the background which shifts, the bodies. Each of these arms, left and right, has its own. I have a head. These including characters because it's referencing like the EC comics. They had the Tales of Crypt comics, and they had like the Old Witch, the Crypt Keeper. They had these different characters that almost made appearances, in every story without being part of the story. And I wanted to show that because the format here is pretty compartmentalized, and it really allows for a pretty easy layout, or at least a layout that I thought would be easy. And although there aren't components of this that are directly PFP, there are individual items that people could use as PFPs if they so choose. But they all have a different look. Like some of that wear and tear like changes the color and the appearance. So although you might have a similar trait across multiple NFTs, how that looks and how that and the amount of wear that has is going to change from image to image. And that is, somewhat arbitrary. There are, like one of ones that do that a little bit differently. And, and these like so there was a period in the like 1990s where all the comic books seemed to have like a trading card built into it. So I wanted to do that. Like this one, like I did a full set. So it's Baba Yaga. She's hanging out of her house with chicken legs. All of the characters on the side are either they're two witches, a wizard, and then the card itself is related to like witchcraft. So the one of ones, or they're maybe not so much one of ones, but the specials kind of have this different treatment that are reflective of the collection. Like they're the name of the collection. That's the only time these appear.
So I've translated everything about NFTs. If you want to add something, please add, and we can go on. And I have some questions prepared for you.
Yeah, sure. One of the things that I learned from this process, when I started it 3 years ago, and I had a very clear, defined path that I wanted to take, and I took that path, and I didn't deviate from it. I'm like when I'm focused on something, I do that thing, and then I move to the next one. And when I released this, I realized that the market had definitely changed, things had shifted, and I got a lot of, questions from different communities and suggestions that I think I wish I had early on, because they're going to, help me with the next project, because I it's one thing to create a project that for yourself, and for all of these, like I'm the audience. Like I create projects that I want to see, but at the same time I want to make sure that people are comfortable with them. So getting feedback from different communities, although sometimes that feedback went in different directions, because you can't possibly make a project or create something that everybody agrees with, or everybody agrees with your actions. But the feedback that I've received, whether I agreed or disagreed with it, like has been phenomenal, because it's only going to help me be a better creator in the future.
So you just ended your sentence that you're planning to do everything what you've told before you begin your next work. So you're planning to launch some more collection on Stargaze. What are your
Yeah.
plans for the future?
So as I was going through this, I kind of, if you're a creative person, I consider myself a creative person. I'm definitely not short on ideas. Like there's always something that I want to do next, and something that I think might be a project worth trying. And as I went through this, I kept a running list of different ideas that I had, and as time went on, some of them were removed, some of them were refined. I have about 8 or 9 ish projects that I have on there. Probably half of those I'm committed to, and then two of them I know how I would do it right now. And part of that too is not just the art. Like I was so focused on the art for such a long time that I didn't think of the coding component and the generative component. And now that I know that, and I have a that's familiar to me, there's going to be things about the next projects that I need to adjust or change. And there are a few that I don't need to. Like they'll work with my current understanding. So I have a lot of projects that I want to do. They're all, or right now, the direction is to have them all kind of fall under like a Moonbase Dracula umbrella. So every project is going to be different. Like I won't do, comic books next time, but it's all going to feel familiar. Like every project is going to work almost like a body of work, or like a family of art, so to speak.
Amazing. So, as I understand, you're primarily an artist. So, you're not right now just working with utilities for your collections. You're just making beautiful art. And everyone in chat right now telling us that your art is really quality and like it will be minted just because art is cool. But I know that Stargaze is very supporting you, because for us, for me as a founder, it is good that people who is real artists, who is making his work good, using Stargaze as a gallery, not as a marketplace to sell his work, but we can just open your website, Moonbase Dracula, and see your art, your work. That's amazing. But please explain us how your art is related to NFT, because NFT, in our opinion, may have some utility. That's a
Yeah.
question.
No, no, no. I think I understand the question. Art to me has been. I mean, I've bought art from people, like physical art from people, and it's definitely, in my eyes, it's a luxury. Like it's not. Some people think it's a need. Some people think it's a want. I think people do need art, and physical art, actual, put it on your wall art, can sometimes have an expense barrier. And one of the things that I find appealing about NFTs is you can keep that expense barrier, at least in the beginning, relatively low. Some projects get progressively more expensive, some don't, but launching something that is digital almost removes that barrier to entry. So if somebody sees something they like, they can actually acquire it without spending a significant amount of money. And I don't spend a ton on the physical art that I've collected, but it's nowhere been it's always been more than what I've spent in NFTs in the past. As far as like what the utility is, before I released this project, I worked on a project with a team on Ethereum, and we came together because we were really we had all been rugged in one form or another, and we didn't want to start promising things that we just couldn't deliver on, because you could have the best intentions in the world and then something happens in the market or something happens to you and then you just can't deliver on that. So I kind of leaned into the bad kids model of just putting something out there and not making a lot of promises. I can't imagine I'm ever gonna make promises on what you can do beyond collecting the art. Part of that is because I don't want to disappoint anybody, and the other part is that I don't know. I don't know how to do anything but this. Like I know how to make art. Like so that's my focus.
Amazing answer. That's cool. But I have one prepared questions before we
Sure.
start the session from the chat. One guy with Nick Devil writing in Russian that you are making that collection for 3 years, but not spent at least 1 week to make a marketing. So he's thinking that you have poor marketing because you wasn't prepared to launch your collection. Please, can you introduce us how you're working with marketing? Because as an artist, your aim is to sell your collection. Because usually, when artists die, your art grow up in price very fast. But now you are alive, and you can work on it hard to get your art in higher price right now. It's a joke from him, but I've just wrote it. So please
It's a good joke.
do.
Unfortunately, I'm still alive.
So please explain us how you push up your mint process is first question, and second, do you have your community I can join and speak with another holders of Moonbase Dracula?
Sure. One of the things that I noticed in fielding questions on Twitter, where the people usually talk to me as if I'm a team of people, and I'm not. I'm one person. So all of those 3 years were working on the project, and then I immediately turned to learning the technical aspect, which for me was a bit of a hurdle. I used a variation of hash lips to put the generative art together, and that was a steep learning curve for me. There was, I would ask people about it, and I got a lot of assistance with that. But even in some of those explanations, it was clear to me that I just didn't have the foundation to be as competent in that as I am with drawing, which is fine. People have different strengths. So by the time I got the art done and started putting the art together, like I marketed for a few months, but there was so much going on about me just learning the process and learning all of these things because I didn't know what I didn't know. And, getting comfortable with the technical side of things that, we had set a date with Stargaze, and I wanted to make sure that I hit that date. So I focused primarily on the things that needed to get done and not so much on the things that I wanted to get done. But for any of the projects that I'll be working on, like they're going to be projects that I would want to see. So they're definitely going to fall outside of um, probably what people are used to in a traditional sense of the market, and I don't say that because I'm trying to necessarily innovate or do things different. I just happen to have interests that fall slightly outside of what it feels to me people are used to. um, you also asked a question about community. Somebody had asked me, if I was gonna start a Discord or start a Telegram group, and I think you also mentioned reaching out to someone about a Discord, and I haven't even been able to wrap my head around it yet. It's like it's one more thing that, in my eyes, takes time away from creating art. So, I mean, I think I'm pretty open to answering questions and responding to, DMs as I have time, but I haven't really focused too much on creating a centralized like location for people to discuss the work.
So, Chris, the main thing that you're not planning to make a community around your collection, but I think that's not a problem to you to just launch some chat. People can communicate with each other, share their thoughts about it, and maybe trade your NFTs or out of market. I think it will be very interesting. So it's just only my opinion, which I've shared to you.
Oh
Also,
yeah,
he
I think it was definitely good insight. I just you know, that's one of the things that I heard that I most certainly agree with. It's just again, it's what's the priority? Like the priority for me is still, making illustrations. So it's not that I won't do it because I think that has high likelihood of happening. I just haven't done it.
Also, we have one question from Martinez. He is from Mad Scientist team. I will invite him right now on the
Sure.
stage and he will ask his question. So, Martinez, you can jump to us. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
hello, my friend. Well, I just want to say I mean your NFTs because I think the art is awesome. Really, it give me vibes, of the 16, 18 horror movies. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really brilliant and it really gives special vibe. But if I want to suggest, it starts six NFTs, and then I've got airdrop it to six more. I mean, I really appreciate art, and if I can advise you, if I may do it, maybe team up with someone because I think this art is really a special one on Stargaze, and art got a special vibe, and that is why it's for me personally, it's horrible that this type of art does not, sound like it can be. That's why it's like some advice for me. Maybe you can team up with someone who will, I mean, you will continue drawing, and someone will just spend time to try to increase the value of your collection, because in my personal opinion the art is awesome. Thank you.
So, Chris, here you go.
Sure. I'm glad you like it. I recognize that it is a little bit different than what people might be used to, not just in Stargaze, but I think it's kind of an outlier in terms of like the entire NFT space. It's the collection kind of falls between, they're not one of ones, but they almost feel like one of ones, even though they're all highly generative. I'm not that concerned with the performance, which might be atypical. This collection could have gone, and nobody could have purchased it, and it wouldn't have prohibited me from, starting the next collection. I need to create, like I need this type of output, so there's kind of this compulsion to continue putting out work. But to your point, I'm certainly not opposed to working with other groups or other people towards a common goal. And if somebody wants to be a developer or create a product or an app, and then I just want to create art for that, like I'm certain there's common ground. I don't know what that process would be like, and I don't know what those steps would be. But yeah, I'm not opposed to any conversation or any situation where I'm working with anybody else. It's just I don't have those connections. I mean, I'm just one guy, which I think can make it difficult because there's a lot that goes on, in a very long period of time. But working with somebody else, that's great because you can kind of share responsibilities and create something different. But if you have any suggestions, like I'm certainly open to hearing them. You can DM me if you don't want to share here, but yeah, I think that's great feedback.
I will also add 2 points to that. First of all, I see that you're really working hard. You're visiting each session on Stargaze. You're spending your time to study that market. You every day trying to develop your skills to get understanding how it's working here. And you visit different communities and speaking with them. As for me, it is giant work, and you're planning to educate yourself and become better. And I think it is very cool that you're not staying on that level. You're really planning to develop yourself, your brain, to get understanding how it's working and to push up your mint. As for me, all you're doing right now, it's amazing. And second point about team, for example, I'm just became from community. I was just a member, and I minted expedition collection in June. And in the end of July, the artist, the founder, Dollar Boy, just invited to me to as a co-founder of that project. So I just a person here came from nothing, just a normal guy from a community. And right now I'm writing up expedition collection, the main guy of it, the face maybe. And I'm just making all that work Dollar Boy don't want to do with inter-community communications and collaborations, maybe like something like that, because I have time, I have energy to that, but Dollar Boy can take his time and making things he are doing. So that's why a suggestion of Martinez to find some person who will help you with development of technical side of your collection, create something around it. I think that's a good point. So Chris, please keep going. I'm giving you a word.
Go in terms of which question?
No question, just you can keep going your ideas, thoughts, and
Oh, sure. Sorry. I do love listening to you speak, by the way. I just it's impressive to me that you keep retaining all of that. You know, it's because I go on a lot and then you're able to translate it. I think that's so cool. I could never do that.
I have
Um,
paper, pen, and I'm making a
oh,
notes, and after that I'm going from each note and trying to explain everything and not miss nothing.
don't tell me that. Make me believe the lie that you're just remembering all of this. Yeah, part of the thing about being kind of coming back into the art world is that I because I hadn't done it in so long and I fell in love with a very specific part of the NFT space, which was, low cost art, and then the ability to create what's essentially a large quantity of art out of a seemingly small pool of assets. That to me is something that I'm probably going to be stuck on for a while. Like there are a lot of different projects that I'd like to do that are going to fall under this, that are all going to operate and look differently. And as I alluded to earlier, the goal is not to make art that's necessarily different for the sake of art being different. It's just the art that I would have made, whether it became an NFT or not. So how I do things and how I operate isn't going to be for everybody. I create art that I would want to see, and if other people enjoy it, that's great. If they mint it, awesome. If they don't mint it, that's cool too. They can look at the marketplace and enjoy it. Like there's different avenues for people to experience art, and I think as a creative, like if you're going into something based solely on the expectations of like others or another group of people, like it's really hard to make work that's your own because you're almost tailoring it to an audience. So for me, it's like I create art that I would want to see and then just hope that others enjoy it.
So I want to ask you one tricky question
Yeah.
about money, because right now people are minting your NFTs and you're getting $10 for each NFT. So that's mean for 10,000 pieces you're planning to reach $100,000. What for are you planning to spend that money? Because usually if people mint NFT, they're expecting to get something in return, or it will be just your salary for all free work, 3 years work.
I think thinking about it in terms of a salary is, I mean, I never would have expected it to make it to sell out. I didn't. My expectation on that was pretty non-existent. I came to that. I came to the figure just based on how long it took me to create the refined art, and that doesn't include like revisions. So if I had to redo a trait 4 or 5 times, like I only thought about how long it would have taken me to do the final. So I used I used my rates that I use as a freelancer, and then I decrease them, and then I decrease them again. So the amount is probably higher than what the market would be completely comfortable with, but at the same time, it's substantially lower than I typically create work for. Um, which at the time felt like it made sense. I think after the project launched, it definitely felt different, and some of that was based on feedback. Some people said it was fine, some people said it was too high, some people said it was too low. So as I said earlier, like you can't do anything that everybody approves of. Um,
Also, I've just translated everything. I think that's a good vision. I absolutely agree with that because you just decide the price, and if your real works cost much higher than all your collection, that makes sense. And you're a freelancer, you can just offer a price. People will accept that price or deny and not meet, but it's their decision. But also, I'm keeping people in NFT and cryptocurrencies as investors, and due to they invest money to you, it's very important get them interested in. So if they right now invest money, I don't know, $10, okay, $10 for example, they are planning to get money back. And what are your expectation about returning them money back, for example, in growing price in 2 years, in 3 years? How long are you planning to support that collection? Maybe for them it's not important to mint at all, and better to just see your art and ignore that collection. Or maybe it's better on your side somehow push up them and invite them to mint your collection, because you will nothing, how to say that. So I think you got my idea. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I think I have it, and if I don't answer properly or if I misinterpret, please let me know. The one thing about the space that I do have a disagreement with is that people seem to either overuse or misuse the word invest. And in your question, you're using it correctly. Like if I am investing, I am purchasing an asset in hopes that it increases in value. I think too many creators speak to their work as investments. I don't. I'm not comfortable doing that. I would never say that my work is an investment. As you know, artists create art, and they create art for people to enjoy, and they create art that they want to create. If that work does increase in value, that's great. I just when I purchase art, I purchase art that I want to have because I like looking at it. I don't expect like a future windfall or future return. So that's kind of how I operate as a creator, the way I operate as a collector.
Amazing answer. I think I absolutely agree with that, and I have the same vision. What are your opinion about AI NFTs? Because, for example, Expedition, it is AI collections we've made for 6 months. And what is your opinion about future of your profession? Maybe robots and AI will destroy your profession, and everyone will work with AI.
That's a yeah, that we could have an entire space solely based on that conversation. To be honest, it's kind of funny. I work with a lot of Adobe products, and Adobe has silently kind of integrated AI into their applications for a while, and their use is very benign. If I wanted to, let's say there's a photo and I wanted to remove a tree, I could do that manually and it could take me a couple hours, or I could, press a button and it would take a couple seconds. So there are scenarios where AI to me is a huge time saver. But as a creative, I'm also a bit of a control freak. So I need to control everything, and AI, at least when I have used it, has not given me a sense of control. Another aspect, and it's not necessarily a comfort thing, but just trying to make sense of it in the world of art and design, is there's a lot of people who put out AI work where it's a tool, and there's a lot of people who put out AI work where they're just pressing the button, and it's hard to distinguish who those different groups are. When I was doing, when I do illustration work or contract design work, I'm usually working with an art director or a creative director, and they're giving me instructions, and I'm turning around and giving them art based on their instructions. In that scenario, I'm the creator, and there's not a situation that I'd be comfortable with where those art directors or creative directors say, "This is my work. This is what I came up with." And I sometimes see a parallel with AI where the AI does the work, and then someone else says, "This is the work I came up with," and that to me has felt a little off. I don't think AI is going anywhere. I think it's going to saturate this industry, or the creative art and design industry. Historically speaking, anybody who has bet against technology has lost. I mean, people selling horses aren't selling horses anymore because people are buying cars. Like, there's always going to be a more efficient process. But as a creative, it's difficult for me to invest my time in learning to use a technology when the amount of control that I have now would be decreased by using that technology.
I really love how you're thinking, your type of thinking, because I see that you're a very educated person. In your speech, you're using a lot of examples, and that's brilliant. That's fantastic. You're making good job, and you're showing by your speech how clever are you. Thank you.
And I've thought about it a lot. So it's not it's I've listened to a lot of people discuss it, and some people I agree with, some people I don't. I mean, all of these situations are going to be personal to the artist or designer, but in its current state, it's not something I'm thrilled about. I think as it gets developed, it could be something that I potentially use in my workflow. In the collections that I have in mind, it wouldn't have a place, but I'm not going to discount it. I mean, I don't see it as part of my process now. I can't say for certain that it will never be. It's just that the current iteration just doesn't work with who I am and how I work.
So, guys, I've translated everything, and I have a question to audience. Do someone have some questions, some thoughts about it, and maybe some additions? You can jump up to us and ask a question, or you can leave a comment in the chat. I will translate it. Also, I drop a Mint link and Twitter, and you can follow the Twitter. And if you want, you can check NFTs on the marketplace. Probably mint them if you like it, or buy something from the secondary market. Depends on you. But just waiting for questions. If no questions, we will end. I think. Chris, do you have something to add while we're waiting for questions?
I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to chat about this. I'm not someone who's very polished talking about their work, so I hope I've answered everything that you've needed me to answer. And I mean, I enjoyed it. Like, I think this is a good experience, and I'm happy I'm here.
Appreciate you come to us, and we have you today because it is very interesting to hear about you. Stargaze is a big family, and everyone want to know everyone better. And thank you. You explain your vision, your work. You did a brilliant work. And also, I kindly recommend you to work harder with different communities, because how I met you. One guy from Shitmas just wrote me to give away your NFT. I knew nothing about you. I saw art is good, but if I shares your NFT, for example, in Twitter, that's mean I support you. And if people meet your NFT and you are a scammer, just came here to cash grab money, that's bad for me because I have some reputation. But
Oh, of course.
after that, I just wrote to some guys from Stargaze team. I wrote to my friends, influencers, and asked your opinion about you. And just everyone told that you're a cool guy, you're working hard, you have a good vision. After that, we had a call, and I just decided why I don't have you in my stage and don't introducing you to my audience, because you're a brilliant guy, and I think a lot of people will follow your vision and follow your ideas. That's why I invited you, and that's why I'm happy to have you today here.
I appreciate that.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for Friday evening. It was very cool, and I hope we will be in touch. And if you need something, we are always ready to support you.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions, like I'm happy to answer them either here or otherwise. So, again, thank you for having me. I hope I answered everybody's questions, and yeah, I'm here. I'm here for the long term. And I can't wait to keep going. Really.
So thank you so much. Have a good one, guys, and see you next time. Bye bye. Thank you, Chris. Ciao.
Take care.